Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are talking about the spell Illusory Dragon.
The shadow puppet, and it makes the thing on the green screen. Eighth level.
Spooky.
Yeah, it's very spooky. This is an 8th level spell from Sanitire's Guide to Everything for Wizards and Only Wizards. Takes an action to cast, 124 cast range, composes somatic concentration permanent. By gathering threads of shadow material from the Shadowfell, you create a huge shadowy dragon in an unoccupied space that you can see within range. The illusion lasts for the spell's duration and occupies its space as if it were a creature. When the illusion appears, any of your enemies that can see it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of it for 1 minute. If a frightened creature ends its turn in a location where it does not have line of sight of the illusion, it can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on a success. So they only get to repeat the save if they can't see the dragon. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the illusion up to 60 feet. That's great. Bonus action is big. At any point during the movement, you can cause it to exhale a blast of energy in a 60-foot cone, originating from its space. When you create the dragon, choose a damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, or poison. Each creature in the cone makes an int save, taking 76 damage of the chosen type on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. And this has got me confused, like, logistically, but mechanically it's great. The illusion is tangible because of the shadow stuff used to create it, but attacks miss it automatically. It succeeds in all saving throws, and it is immune to all damage and conditions. A creature that uses its action to examine the dragon can determine that it is an illusion by succeeding on an intelligence investigation check equal to your spell save DC. If a creature discerns the illusion for what it is, the creature can see through it and has an advantage on saves against its breath, which is definitely worth an action. Like, you're happy if that ever happens, because you still get the breath. It doesn't go away.
They spent all this time and effort that used shadow stuff. Like,
right.
The beginning starts with gathering threads of shadow material. Yeah, go back to that shadow stuff.
So we just talked about in the Druid 7th level spells, we just talked about the Draconic transformation from Visman's Treasury of Dragons. I think this compares pretty closely to that. It's a big bonus action, like a spiritual weapon with upside. Pants is Mordenkainen's sword. You never take that whenever this is an option. Like, it's a big bonus action, 76 cone every round, and that's pretty good.
That's icing on the cake. The spell's nuts. What I like is the fear effect. As soon as you cast it, everybody can see it. Has to make a save or be afraid, or be frightened, technical term. And that they don't get to re-roll until they leave. They break line of sight, and you can move this thing 60 feet as a bonus action on each turn to further ensure that they never get out of line of sight.
Correct.
Which
is
bananas. Yeah, and then
it is an 8th level spell.
Yeah.
So it has to be. Again, this is competing with the likes of animal shapes that break the game in half with a bunch of villagers, right? So yeah, that's pretty powerful. I'm a fan.
And then even if they succeed their thing, recognizing it as an illusion, it doesn't go away. It's not like they're not affected by it. They just get advantage on saving throws against the breath.
And they have to spend an action to investigate it. And if they're frightened, they have disadvantage on that check because it imposes disadvantage on ability checks. So that's cute. Most of the time, they're just
I didn't even realize they had to spend an action doing that. That's that's horrible.
Most of the time, what's going to happen is they're going to go, okay, I'm scared, and continue fighting anyway, or someone's going to end the spell by breaking your concentration, or the two modes that this tier is kind of looking to do. But if you can get this thing up for 3-4 rounds, the fear is pretty solid against large groups of creatures. The breath weapon's also great against large groups of creatures. If one thing passes this thing and you're only hitting one thing with it, it's still honestly pretty good. Like 76 damage is a bonus action for an 8th level spell. If you get 3 instances of damage, you're really happy with that. So yeah, I see no downsides here.
Brush me up again on the frightened condition. What does that do?
The frightened condition does 2 things. A frightened creature has disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while it's within line of sight of the source of the fear. Additionally, it can move willingly closer to the fear. So if you can incapacitate, am I saying incapacitate? I don't mean the condition. I mean you can prevent creatures from approaching you if they're melee creatures by putting the Illusory Dragon out in the frightening loop. And because it's sight-based, it can be a mile away as long as they can still see it and they can't go anywhere closer to it. I mean, it's going to be very temporary because it lasts a minute, and if they're a mile away, it's a little bit further than a minute. But you get the point. Yeah, large distances.
I don't see many battle maps in scale of miles.
Yeah.
All right. Now the other thing to talk about is the breath itself. Now, when you create the dragon, you choose a type, so you can't keep switching willy-nilly. But still, just having that option to damage types aren't necessarily that huge a big deal. But sometimes it's going to come up where
Yeah.
fire damage is what you need right now, or necrotic damage. Like
More
you got a
likely
lot of
it's
options.
one of these isn't going to work and you're going to pick any of the others is normally what
Yeah.
happens, right? Like you're against salamanders that are immune to fire damage or whatever. You're against some kind of creature that's got resistance to cold and you don't pick cold in that one instance, right? That's where it's mostly at, which basically gives this like immunity proof. So you will get the damage the way you wanted it most of the time, unless something's like immune to magic damage, in which case this does nothing. But that's non-existent, I think. I think almost nothing has that kind of text. So
Yeah, so like when do you not use this?
most encounters, you can get some value out of it. I think because it's an 8th level spell, you want to use it in the encounter of the day that is doing the big creature thing. I think you want this against groups of approaching enemies to where it shines brightest. That being said, if you're doing one encounter per long rest, absolutely throw this thing out if you want to. This competes for your concentration. So like if you're doing haste things or other powerful effects that use your concentration, this is a little bit harder to justify. Normally this is going to be something, again, in this tier, if you don't have a lot of encounters back to back to back, wizards are unbelievably busto. They're already unbelievably busto, but like if they get long rests, the game can't be played without the wizard being the center of attention all the time. So like this is a consideration as to why. This is gonna need to be a one encounter. This is a major contributing factor too. And it's probably gonna be, again, you want to try and aim this at the encounter that has lots of creatures to interface with. As a DM, the countermeasure to this, you would, as a player, look to say, okay, how likely am I to get shot? What are the creatures approaching? Is concentration based something I'm worried about having to maintain here? And then you might go, okay, if I don't get 3 actions out of this, it's not worth the cast. So then you probably leave it down. But as long as you can safely say, I'm going to at least have a good chance of maintaining concentration for at least 3 rounds, you're probably going to want to cast this.
Yeah, I know you mentioned before you like to run like big boss battles with lots of little minions as well. So you have 1 or 2 big creatures and then a bunch of little creatures. This is, fun for potentially both of those groups.
Absolutely. It deals with all little creatures with a frighten, prevents them from approaching, kills a whole lot of them, and then you turn it on the boss. And the boss has to spend time wasting trying to, like, I don't want to be frightened anymore, so either I have to move or I have to pass the saves, and that still doesn't really work for me. They're never at legendary resisting a frighten, so that's going to be a pretty consistent way to get a meaningful impacting condition on them, right? Like, legendary resistance on like a lich or something, they're not going to see a fear. They're immune to fears, probably. A lot of things are immune to fears that are bosses. So like if you have a boss that's not immune to fear, then it's relevant. But
good times.
Yeah,
anything else you want to say about it?
I hate that it's a little illusion that does elemental damage type on an int save. I find that stupid. If it's a breath that deals damage, let it be a dex or con save. It's
no. See, I like the int save. That makes sense. You're not really.
You are. You're actually taking fire damage.
Yes,
you're not taking psychic damage.
You're taking fire damage because you believe you're taking fire damage. It's all in here, Sam.
It's not all in here. This is shadow stuff, Bob. We've left the realm of pure illusion.
Stuff. Well, I forgot. I forgot what I'm dealing with.
How can you forget the shadow
stuff?
Honestly. I mean, this probably deserves a 3 for 8s. This is a very good 8th level spell, but like I don't think it's breaking the game in half in any fundamental way. This is really hard to abuse. It's just going to be a good, big, powerful, splashy effect. It's going to find its home on a lot of sheets very comfortably.
Ooh, I think it's better than a 3. I won't go as far as 5, but solid 4. Just the combination of...
You really are overvaluing fear here. It's fine. A lot of things are immune to it.
A lot of things, but things aren't. What?
A lot of them are going to pass. It's still an 8d6 bonus action damage. This really needs to get a lot of rounds out to work. There are going to be encounters where it goes down around 1. And you're like, that was sad, but...
Yeah, maybe I'm getting too optimistic on what's going to happen when I cast
this. You're like, I'm going to cast this and everything's going to be frightened. No one's going to hit me and I'm going to have 5 rounds of it. I'm going to incinerate everyone. And then you're going to get shot twice and it's going to go down. And you're only going to get 76 damage out of it. You're going to be like, I just spent an 8th level spell slot for 76 damage and be really bummed out about that.
Yeah, that might happen. But another thing we didn't even touch on, this is not a creature, so like it doesn't have, like, you can't kill it, right? Unless you
they just have to kill you.
Yeah.
So they shoot through it once and they go, oh, never mind, kill the wizard, is what
Yeah.
happens.
That's bumping it up even more in my book. I mean, the
Painting
fear
a
effect-
target on your head
No,
bumps it up.
you're always a target.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But yeah, the fear, the breath weapon, the fear effect that limits their ability to detect this as an illusion. They have to blow an action to try. Like
Which means they're just not going to.
Yeah. Like that all contributes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's ranged weapons, there's spells and stuff, but the fear contributes to you being able to maintain your concentration.
Yeah.
And that's I love everything about this.
Yeah, I think a lot of players are gonna have a very good time with it.
All right.
Should you ever get to 8th level spells?
Yeah, that's a big one. Oh, you know what I didn't notice? Only somatic component.
Sure.
That barely matters, but
Correct.
cool. All right, that's enough blathering. That was Illusory Dragon. I like this one. All right, thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments. And yeah, that's that. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.